shiver. Goalkeepers nervous, strikers they'll deliver. Crowd roars erupted, you can feel the quake. 80.
Yes, where else do we start from other than the performance of João Pedro? Stunning performance, from the Brazilian. So, Chelsea fans, what do you make of his performance, or what did you make of his performance? For me, I think it means a couple of things. First off, Nicholas Jackson just has to sharpen up, for lack of a better phrase or way to describe it. It just has to sharpen up, because I think the first game when he made his cameo, the game versus Palmeiras, he showed some good movement. He showed some good play, some good enterprise. But then, if you're a Chelsea fan, you would have sort of had that aftertaste in your mouth from Mikhailo Mudryk. Came on against Liverpool, played, had a decent cameo, made everyone dreaming, made everyone drew to say, wow, Mikhailo Mudryk, wonderful player. I can't wait to see what he does in the upcoming games. And then that seemed to be the highlight of his Chelsea, career, unfortunately. And now apparently he's going to be banned. Who knows? But so I think Chelsea fans must have had a sort of feeling about João Pedro. Yes, you've come on against Palmeiras. You've had a decent cameo. You shouldn't enterprise, while not scoring any goals or having any shot on target. They can say, okay, yeah, good play. So the next thing that you'll be hoping for as a Chelsea fan, that you would have been hoping for as a Chelsea fan, would have been, okay, the next game becomes built on the performance he's had against, Palmeiras, maybe have a couple of shots on target, maybe score a goal, if any. And then he comes on and has an absolute stellar performance. And the way he took those goals, stunning strike for the first one, beautiful corner, far end, far post. And then the second one, absolute blistering shot. It's always lovely when you see the shot come off the crossbar and goes in. So wonderful, wonderful from him. I hope this is something he builds on from a Chelsea fan perspective. You're a fan of any other club. Are you scared? Are you scared of João Pedro? And now, what does this mean for strikers like Liam Delap, strikers like Nicholas Jackson? I've said that earlier in the video. For Nicholas Jackson, he just has to smarten up. So João Pedro says he's enjoying the start of his Chelsea career. 100% he has to. So for Nicholas Jackson, he just has to sharpen up. He just has to be in proper shape right now. I think he's been one of the most protected Chelsea strikers in a long while. He's been one of the most protected Chelsea strikers in a long while, because each time you talk about signing a striker, each time you talk about, getting some competition, people say, oh, don't sign this player. He's going to impede the development of Nicholas Jackson, or he's going to make sure Nicholas Jackson does not improve. He's had one season, he's had 2 seasons. And my argument has always been, if you're Chelsea, if you play for Chelsea, ordinarily you would expect that you have a striker that competes against you. And also for a club like Chelsea, if you feel like you want to compete for top honors, you can't just rely on one striker. Now, even though that striker is a phenomenal striker, gives you 30 goals a season, 35 goals a season, something Nicholas Jackson hasn't quite been able to do, you still need to get a second striker. You still need to get some competition. You still need to get some backup. So Liam Delap was brought in, and I think Liam Delap has scored his first goal, for Chelsea in this Club World Cup. So decent from him. And then you start wondering, is he the one? But like I said, going into the season, I've done some videos about this, and I've said Liam Delap, wonderful striker, has huge upside, 100%. But he's young, he is raw, he will have his ups and downs. Sometimes he may even have more downs than up this season, because that's part of his evolution as a young striker. That's part of his development as a striker. So you saw in past this Club World Cup where he got drawn too much to the pass of the ball, to the player in possession of the ball. That for Liam Delap, you saw that way too often, in my opinion. And then João Pedro was signed. He's coming. He's planted his flag you know, with respect to that Chelsea starting striker spot. So for me, he is the number one striker right now, but he has to keep on it. Now, going into the Club World Cup final, I think he should start no matter who Chelsea gets to face, whether it's PSG or Real Madrid. He should be the one starting, in my opinion. And then I don't want to see any shockers. I don't want to see any sort of tactical master plan that means that João Pedro sits on the bench while you have Liam Delap starting, because you need a striker of his profile. Now, I'll raise my hand up to say when he was signed, I say he was not quite the type of striker Chelsea needs, but prove me wrong. And he's doing that on the pitch, just like John Mikelobi told, Nicholas Jackson. Yeah, I can criticize you, I can say you're not good enough, but you come on the pitch and you prove people wrong. And for me, I think João Pedro is proving himself right, because he says he loves to score goals. The hard work of a player. When they asked him about the striking situation in Chelsea, he said the hard work of each player would decide who will be the number one, and he's showing it on the pitch. So Chelsea fans, in the comments in the chat, let me know: are you happy with João Pedro's performance? How do you rate? How do you rate him? Do you still think Chelsea still needs to sign a striker? Do you still think maybe the likes of Victor Osimhen will come in, or Gyokeres even if it's closer to an Arsenal move than a Chelsea move? Or you're happy with the three strikers that Chelsea, have at the minute? João Pedro, your Liam Delap, and your Nicholas Jackson. Or maybe, just a thought, are you thinking Liam Delap was signed this season, fair play? João Pedro was signed this season, fair play. Nicholas Jackson has been at the club for a while now, and he hasn't really pulled up any trees. So maybe he should be sold. What do you think about that? And then you have Liam Delap and João Pedro as the out and out striking options, and then maybe you go on to sign another striker. Or you could even say, we won't forget, we have McGee in the building. Maybe you go with McGee and João Pedro and Liam Delap as the strikers. So yes, ask, who do you think will start more, Delap or João Pedro? I think João Pedro may start more. Because he seems to be the more finished article. Still young, 23, just a year older than Liam Delap, but he seems to be more of a finished article than João Pedro. Sorry, than Liam Delap. His link-up play seems better, seems cleaner. His touch control on the ball seems cleaner. He also seems physical as well. So I think that's one thing where you say, oh, can he really be a physical threat like a Liam Delap? Obviously, I think he's physical in a different way. He's not physical in the back to go sort of way, but he's physical in a way where he can really put pressure on the defense, with his movement, with his intensity, and his aggression on the ball. So I think João Pedro may just be the one to start first. May just be the one to start more. And he's got 2 goals to his name. Jackson, no goal to his name. Liam Delap has 1 goal, though you may say he's in the Club World Cup. So let's see how it goes. But for me right now, based on what I've seen, the Cameo versus Palmeiras, in the game versus Fluminense yesterday, I'll say I will be going with João Pedro if I had to choose. And now we'll talk about some transfer news. So, Noni Madueke, Chelsea fans, do you want him gone? Do you want Noni Madueke gone? Chukwunonso Madueke, do you want him gone? How do you feel about his proposed move to Arsenal? Yes, so something just coming from Fabrizio Romano about 15 minutes ago, so I'll share this up here. So, yeah. Exclusive, Arsenal have submitted an initial bid for Noni Madueke around £50 million package, add-ons included. So possibly that may be about, say, £45 million and then £5 million in add-ons. So Chelsea want more than £50 million fixed as Elanga. So it's similar to what Elanga got for his move to Newcastle. Similar deals remain their reference or rather preference. Good relationship between clubs as talks continue. Madueke agreed terms with Arsenal. Now, just some opinions about this. Now, before we really get stuck into this, I know a lot of people. Let's be fair. A lot of people are saying Noni Madueke, oh, he's a good personal terms with them. He should go. How dare he agree personal terms with Arsenal? But let's be fair. If a player keeps getting pushed out the door every transfer window, Noni Madueke is the person. He's the name that comes up. And when you talk about being criticized, he is criticized very harshly. The same output with Pedro Neto. Pedro Neto doesn't have a sort of criticism about him. And then for Ronnie Madueke, he has that constant criticism about him every time. And he's the one that always seems to be pushed towards the door. So at some point, you just say, okay, I'll agree terms and I can leave. So for me, I think Ronnie Madueke should remain at the club because one thing I always look at is balance. You have Gittins on the left. Come next season, I mean, you have Gittins on the left, and you also have Noni Madueke on the right. So you have that power and pace on either flank. Power and pace on either flank. That's how I would look at it. And even if you're thinking about selling him, why sell him to Arsenal? Why sell him to Arsenal? I think I miss those days of football where you don't sell to your rivals, or at least you don't sell key players that can be important for that can be important pieces for your rival. But now it just seems like everyone, every team, every club, they're business partners right now. They're business associates. So, oh, want to sell the player to you? Okay, we'll sell him off to you because it doesn't make any sense why you sell Noni Madueke to to Arsenal when they have Bukayo Saka there already, thereby strengthening that left side. It doesn't make sense to me. For other Chelsea fans, it may. For me, it doesn't make any sense to me. Jackson says, I feel like Jao is good, but people are overhyping him a lot. Jackson in 2023 preseason was very good. And Kai also scored a hat-trick in debut, and look that has been. Look at how that has been. So for me, I think fair point. You raise Jassim. It's quite possible that he doesn't build on his form that he's shown, but on the basis of what we've seen Jackson, we've seen Liam Delap, and we've also seen Jao Pedro. On the basis of what we have seen, I think Jao Pedro is the best of the three. And for me, if you've been watching my streams, you know who I prefer. My preference for a striker has always been Victor Osimhen or Victor Gyokeres, but obviously it seems Chelsea are not going that route. So 23 or 25 and under, that's sort of the age range or profile of striker or rather not just strikers, players in general that that Chelsea, is looking at. So that's not going to happen. So you're stuck with likes of Jao Pedro, and he's the best out of three right now. And that's why for me it's important you have competition. You have competition for places, in my opinion. Nicholas Jackson was just the only striker, and then was just either Nicholas Jackson scores or bust. Now you have options. So if Jao Pedro at some point down the line, somewhere in the season, struggles too much, you can take him off and you have Jackson, you have a Liam Delap. So that's my opinion on that. Now back to the Noni Madueke sale. I want to know what's your thoughts and opinion. So just simply, I don't want Noni in the club. He will get lesser play time with these signings, and then his mind won't be in the team and will be the same for Nkunku all over again. Well, that's a fair point. Obviously, if a player is not getting game time, he possibly want to leave, or possibly want to go to a club where he will play. But for me, the thing is, when you look at the team, Bino Gittins is coming. He's going to provide that power and pace on the left hand side, and then who's even the other option down there? Who's even the other option at that left wing? So you have Pedro Neto and you have Bino Gittins as the two wingers, and then you now have Tyreek George as the other wing option, because let's not forget Jadon Sancho is gone And Nkunku is not quite a winger. He's not quite the sort of winger that holds weight. So I don't see why selling Noni Madueke makes sense. I don't see why a lot of people want him out the door. Look at his production. Compare it with Pedro Neto, that seems to be the darling of everyone. Everyone seems to love Pedro Neto. I'm not saying Pedro Neto is bad, he should be sold. No. I'm just saying, look at Pedro Neto's production. 10 goal contributions, same, that is 6 goals, 4 assists. Noni Madueke, 7 goals, 3 assists. So I don't see that huge difference in terms of production and output that you say, oh, Pedro Neto is super fantastic. He should be ahead of him. And Kudus, that we're talking about, Kudus isn't a winger. That's the thing. When some fans see, a new player being linked to the club, they fall into this trap to feel like he's everything. Kudus is not a winger. As a 10, superb player. As a winger, not that good. Not that good. Just the same mistake fans make with Cole Palmer that Chelsea fans make with Cole Palmer. They say, "Oh, play him wide, play him on the, on the right wing." No, he will struggle, and he has always struggled each time he's played there, and he will struggle even more under Enzo Maresca if he plays out wide, because you don't have fullbacks that stretch play. So there's no point for Cole Palmer, who is one of the most important players for Chelsea, to be played out of position. You have Madueke there, and then you would have a Pedro Neto that should be your right wing sorted out, and then you have Bino Gittes on one side. And even if you're signing Kudus, he's not a winger. He's not. That's the same mistake, Enzo Maresca made with Nkunku going into the season. That's the same mistake he made. Nkunku, he played him as a winger, played him as a striker. All those positions, he was never comfortable playing in those positions. He was a 10, he is a 10. At most 8.5 if you want to go that route. So, anyways, at the end of the day, if the club ends up selling Noni Madueke, that's fine. But I know the same fans that are kicking him outdoor will be complaining. The other day I was watching a stream and some Chelsea fan was trying to make Noni Madueke look like, as useful as a rumpled piece of paper. But let's see how it happens. If the deal is done and it goes to Arsenal, well, we'll keep supporting the club. I'm sure other Chelsea fans will keep supporting the club. It's not like it's the end of the world, but why sell someone who's pretty useful? And a club like Arsenal, nonetheless, London rivals for one, Premier League rivals. You want to get to their spot. You want to get ahead of them. So why would you sell a key piece to Arsenal? But there you have it. Apparently, he may end up there. So let me know your thoughts and opinions on these two items: João Pedro, Noni Madueke, and Victor Gyokeres. Now, Victor Gyokeres, apparently the deal has not been done yet. Earlier on in the week, there was talk about Victor Gyokeres wanting to play for Arsenal. He has even agreed to lose out on €2 million to play for Arsenal. But nothing is happening. Nothing has happened so far. Nothing has happened so far with respect to Victor Gyokeres. So Arsenal fans, are you still feeling comfortable? Are you still feeling comfortable about getting, Victor Gyokeres? This is what so we've had all this talk about negotiations for him. Arsenal has gone to the Portugal, having those discussions with the club, but nothing has come of it. Do you think that's something that actually comes to fruition? What are your thoughts and opinions on Victor Gyokeres? For me, one thing I would never do is I would never be disingenuous. I'll never be disingenuous in the sense that Victor Gyokeres was my number 2 choice, or number 2 choice for Chelsea. Number 1 was Victor Osimhen, has always been Victor Osimhen, and then Gyokeres, the second choice as an established, accomplished goal scorer. But apparently the club isn't going in that direction. Chelsea isn't going in that direction. So If Arsenal get him, that brings them ever so close to uh, um, Liverpool. I'm telling you, you have Victor Gyokeres and the way they defend, and you have Bukayo Saka there, you have Odegaard there as well, and then you have Noni Madueke in addition to Bukayo Saka. That is a problem. That becomes a serious problem. So yeah, we just have to see them as an instant threat to Liverpool. That even takes them further away from Chelsea. That takes them further away from Chelsea. So you're trying to catch them, they're getting a player like Victor Gyokeres, and then you're going on to give them a very important asset. People seem to forget that Madueke scored a hat-trick this past season, but Victor Gyokeres to Arsenal will just bring them ever so close to Liverpool, and that improves their chances a ton in terms of winning the league. So Yasim says, I hope the Gyokeres deal is off. I hope so too. I hope so too. If I'm thinking as a rival, a fan of a rival club, yes, I hope the deal is off. And it would be crazy for Arsenal to go all this way, get Gyokeres to do all this sort of battle with Sporting Lisbon about not wanting to play for them anymore, not wanting to train with the squad anymore, and willing to let go some financial gain that he should normally get, and then you don't sign him. That would just be crazy. And apparently, Sporting Lisbon are insisting on, was this 60 million euros guaranteed and 10 million euros in add-ons, so bringing it about to 70 million euros. And apparently, Arsenal are not willing to pay that, which is crazy to me. If I was an Arsenal, and I know my primary problem, my primary issue over the past 2 seasons has been an out-and-out striker, I wouldn't sign anybody else. I wouldn't sign any other player. I would get Victor Gyokeres in the building, and then when that deal is done, I can then go on to see where I can make deals here and there to improve other parts of the pitch. So it could be possibly off, and if it's off, I would just advise the likes of Manchester United to have a look there, because he's right now, Victor Gyokeres has burned the bridges. He has burned the bridge at Sporting Lisbon. He has burned that bridge. He has broken relationships, with sporting directors and people over there. So he will just have to leave. And if I'm Chelsea as well, I know we have João Pedro already in the building and Liam Delap is there as well. I would put in a cheeky bid for Gyokeres, maybe a Jackson and some money for him. I would, because Jackson right now is struggling. Jackson seems to be struggling mentally, psychologically on the pitch. You could see each time he's on the pitch right now, he's trying too much. He's trying to do too much to prove that yes, he's still the number one. The advice I give to Cole Palmer is the same advice I would give to Nicholas Jackson. Calm down, the game will come to you. João Pedro ahead of you, Liam Delap, a new boy on the scene, but calm down and the game will come to you and you will shine. Like yesterday, you should have easily laid the ball for Cole Palmer and that would have been an easy tap in. Happy days 3-0, but he sort of rushed on the shot and threw the shot out wide. So, total opinions, Victor Gyokeres. The dealer for Arsenal fans, would you really be disappointed if you don't get Gyokeres? If you don't get him, who else would you be looking for? Who would be your striking options? Now speaking about striking options, and I said Victor Gyokeres was my number one option for Chelsea, but now, and my number one option was Victor Osimhen. But the way it feels right now, it's almost like Victor Osimhen is set to join Galatasaray. That's what the reports are, that he would end up going to Galatasaray. So according to several reports, even Fabrizio Romano has said something similar. So breaking Galatasaray have agreed to pay Victor Osimhen 75 million euros release clause. If an agreement is reached on the payment plan, the payment transfer, of the Nigerian to Istanbul will be complete. And Victor Osimhen has already agreed a 60 million euros deal. I'm sorry, 60 million euros a year pay package with Galatasaray. And some people say, "Oh, wants money? What money?" Well, it's their job. If that's how they pay their bills, so. Of course, players want to be paid. And if your club is stubborn and say they want to hold on to some pay structure, that's fine. Then the player is allowed to sign for another club. That's just simple. So I've at some point always been insistent about Victor Osimhen coming to Chelsea, but the club not looking in his direction. He's also wants to get paid a fair wage, in his opinion, that matches his caliber. Because you look at people who are in the same sort of caliber as him, like your Harry Kane, it's on £20 million, a year. You look at Erling Haaland, £27 million a year. You look at Lewandowski, he's on 30 plus million euros a year. So strikers in his sort of range, caliber, that's what they earn. So if as a club you're not willing to pay him, then he's going to go to another club. So Premier League clubs, I don't know what they've been drinking or what's been going on through their heads, where you look at the striker of his caliber and say, "Oh, you should take a pay cut," whilst you're offering pay rises, huge contracts to players that haven't really proved themselves. But if it goes to Galatasaray, I hope he goes there, he does well. And from a Nigerian perspective, I just want him playing regular football, being happy, being in tip-top shape, and also being in excellent form. So when it comes to the African Cup of Nations in Morocco, he really comes there and shines. When it comes to the World Cup qualifiers, he really comes there and shines. And hopefully the World Cup next year, he comes there and also shines. So that's the way I look at it right now. So according to Yasim says we're looking for a winger against Kudus. I hope okay, I've read it before. So that's it. So if you just join in, what is your take on João Pedro? Is it the out and out number one striker now for Chelsea? What do you think about Noni Madueke? Chelsea now in negotiations with Arsenal. Personal terms we agreed earlier on, in the week or even before that. Now two clubs are discussing. Arsenal have reportedly made an offer of £50 million, including add-ons. So speculating that could be £45 million guaranteed and £5 million add-ons. So, but say Chelsea are holding out for 55, holding out for 50 plus guaranteed. So, thoughts and opinions on Madueke apparently leaving to Arsenal, or rather being close to leaving Chelsea for Arsenal. You happy joining the rivals? Joining the rivals. Now, if he leaves, this is a question for Chelsea. If he leaves, that means you have Pedro Neto as your right winger. That's the only right winger you have. That's it. That's the only right winger you have. And then Bino Gittins and maybe Tyreek George become the two left wingers you have. So what do you think signing Kudus? And when you look at their production, look at Noni Madueke's production, look at Kudus' production. But that's a different topic for another day. So thoughts and opinions on Noni Madueke, and also Victor Gyokeres, the deal that he was supposed to have, that was supposed to have happened, that would have seen him move from Sporting Lisbon to join Arsenal. It seems to be taking an age, because I think in the past, I would say 24 to 48 hours, it all seemed like, let's say Monday, it all seemed like it was all done, all set. In fact, by today, he should have already been announced as an Arsenal player. But for some reason, he hasn't been. Everything has just seemed to go cold. So you're still comfortable, you're still confident as an Arsenal fan that you'll get your man. If Arsenal fail to get a Gyokeres, that will be an absolute disappointment for them, I think, because that's the main thing you need to get. You need to get that striker sorted out. You're competing with the likes of Liverpool that have, your Mohamed Salah that will score you 25 goals easy. You have Erling Haaland that in an awful season, he can get you 30 goals in all competitions. So those are the two teams you're competing with. Those are the two teams you want to catch up with. And if you win the Premier League title this season, Those are the two teams you have to finish ahead of. Forget about Chelsea. Chelsea this season, I would have loved to say Chelsea would be in the race for the title, but it's not going to happen. The business they've done, still going younger, um, still signing players that need time to improve. It just feels like this season, still, this 2025-2026 season for Chelsea will not be the season where Chelsea competes for the league title. I wish it was, but it just doesn't seem that way. So let me know your thoughts and opinions on that. And then I'll go shift slightly towards the direction of youth. Kobe Ebere, a Nigerian eligible player, have signed a new contract with Everton. So congratulations to him. Good deal. Hope doesn't have any crazy clause in his contract, but as a young player, hopefully they don't insert those mad clauses in his contract, and let's see how he continues to develop. And they also have Esosa Sule. Esosa Sule has also signed a new deal with West Brom and completed a loan move to Motherwell. So for me, my estimation is that he is going to Motherwell to play. He's going to Motherwell to play first team, senior team football, which I think that's good for his development. This as a trialist, that's a bit confusing to me. That's a bit, why would he be listed as a trialist? But anyway, let's see. So Esosa Sule. So it here says Esosa Sule has joined Scottish Premier League outfit Motherwell on a season-long loan deal. Good luck, Esosa. So good luck from the Ugamadi Football Channel as well. Youngster, he's done well, got lots of goals for West Brom Academy side. Let's see what he goes on to do, at Motherwell. Good luck to him. So, like I always say, when I talk about certain players like this, the NFF have a look at these players. Let's see what he turns out to be. Obviously, not saying he should immediately be part of the Nigerian Super Eagles, but he should, be in that football ecosystem where you're constantly scouting, constantly engaging with him, so you can easily. So when the time comes, you could have an easier route to have these discussions with this player. Because, like I said, Chuba Akpom said this in an interview that sometimes these dual nationals, 18-year-olds, when they're 17, when they're 18, there's no contact between them and the Nigerian Football Federation. And then sometimes when they're not 21, 22 and becoming superstars, it's a lot difficult for them to then shift and focus on, or rather take the Nigerian Football Federation seriously as an institution or federation that really, has their best interests at heart. So I think it's important that that is looked at. And on some other transfer news, I want to talk about Uche Crisantos. Apparently, Uche Crisantos has his heart set at playing playing in the Premier League, but it's almost like the Getafe, his present club, wants him to go to the Italian Serie A. I don't quite get that. I don't quite get that would be why that would be the case. I would have thought whatever the best deal is for a player, whatever the best deal is, the best offer in terms of the financials, then that's what you should be looking at as a club, and not bother where the player is sort of interested in going, not really focusing on where the player wants to go. The player wants to go to Italian Serie A club, and they meet sort of your demands as a club, then that's where you should go. If he wants to go to an English club, English Premier League club, and then meet sort of the financial valuations you have for the player, then you should allow him to go there. Some comments that the president of Getafe, Angel Torres, may just didn't make any sense to me, in my opinion. So these are the statements, or right? This is the statement that's credited to the president of Getafe, Angel Torres. No, this one. So it's what he has said. He says the towering superintendent, Uche doesn't even know where he wants what he wants. It all depends on how he gets up. Angel Torres said in quotes revealed by Quetta TV. Tomorrow, if he comes, we will talk. We'll talk to him. He's clear that he wants to go to the Premier League. He has offers from Italy, but I don't know why he wants to go to. He wants to go to the Premier League. He will tell us from tomorrow. Now, firstly, there are two things sort of involved here. Now, has there been an offer from a Premier League club? Because earlier on in the transfer window or earlier on in the sort of off season, there was talk about Sunderland being interested in the signature of Uche Santos, the Nigeria Super Eagles midfielder, who had been capped twice. And then that sort of news reports, rumors, sort of faded away. Now, the president of Hetafe in these quotes, saying that there's an offer from Italy. Therefore, so he's thinking he should go to Italy. So, are there no offers from English clubs and Uche Crisanto just wants to go there? Now, if there are offers from an English club and he wants to go to the English club, so why not let him go there? Because I think the way Uche Crisantos is built, I think he is really suited to, playing in the English Premier League. So that's how I say it. But if there's no offer there, you can't fantasize about going to a league where no one has made an offer for you. Now, if you're just joining, what are your thoughts and opinions on the various sort of topics or issues? I won't say issues, news items we've spoken about today. Talking about Noni Madueke and move to Arsenal, getting closer by the minute. Because right now, after personal terms, we agreed. Now you have the clubs engaged in club-to-club negotiations, and Arsenal have put forward a formal bid of £50 million, including add-ons, and Chelsea want even more than that. So, touch opinions about that. Arsenal fans, you happy about Noni Madueke at your club? What do you think? Chelsea fans, you happy with him leaving your club? And then as well, we'll talk about João Pedro. Do you see him as the outright number one striker right now, at Chelsea? Or do you still think Nicholas Jackson still has a shout? Liam Delap still has, a shout for that first striker shirt, that first striker starting breath. What do you make of his performance as João Pedro's performance against Fluminense? Do you think, maybe he played against a Brazilian side, played against a side that has, one of the oldest goalkeepers in the club World Cup, goalkeeper 44 years old, and then you had Thiago Silva, who's 40 years old right now. So do you think maybe that's the reason behind his, so that's an excellent performance, or you're happy with the performance and you're like me, and you say, yes, he played against Fluminense, but he had a very good, cameo against Palmeiras, and he has built on that, and now has come, and in the game for the Fluminense, he really showed what it was all about in getting those two goals and two stunning strikes. So, opinions on that, and then Kobe Ebere, I said it, a Nigerian eligible youngster, has signed a new contract with Everton. So happy that it has happened. Talk about Sule as well. Esosa Sule, he signed a new contract with West Bromwich Albion, and has gone on loan to Motherwell in the Scottish League. For me, I just hope he plays. Because one thing is wanting to go on loan, and it's another thing for you to actually play. It's one thing for you to actually go on that loan and play. And some clubs, because initially I used to feel like loan deals, for clubs who don't quite have the resources to buy certain levels of player, so they get them on loan, share the salary, or rather the payment of the wage with the parent club, and then the player gets to play. But now I've seen with certain clubs that what they do is they sign those players on loan and just stockpile them, don't even play them. like we saw with Nottingham Forest and Andre Santos. As they signed him 2 seasons ago, signed him, kept him on the bench, and didn't even play him, didn't even give him minutes. So I just hope that's not, what happens to Esosa Sule. And then speaking of another youngster, Elvis Elendu, a Nigerian eligible youngster, signed a deal with, he signed his, not a deal, he signed his scholarship, he signed as a scholar for Wolverhampton. Good news for him. Hopefully he has a very productive time at Wolves as part of the academy setup. So that's some news. That's it with most of the transfer news, or my reaction to various transfer news items that we've heard this past week. On Madueke, I don't want to delay, but apparently he's going to go. Now, a question to Chelsea fans. If Noni Madueke goes as it seems ever so likely, what would you want the club to do? That's Chelsea fans. What would you want the club to do? Would you want the club to, go all out and sign another winger? Or are you happy with the way things are? And if the club is going out to sign another winger, do you think that Kudus is the right choice? Now, for me, Kudus is a brilliant player, 100%. Even if he's Ghanaian, he's a brilliant player. He's a brilliant player. And maybe in my Nigerian ways, maybe I have a bias against a Ghanaian player, I don't know. But he is a brilliant player. But he's not a brilliant winger, in my opinion. He is a brilliant number 10, an absolute world-class number 10. That's why I say Kudus. If you're signing Kudus right now to play him on either flank, you are going to be shocked. That's what I'm saying. That's the only issue I have with Kudus. So if you're signing Kudus as replacement for Madueke, then you're in the spot of bother, in my opinion. And this is where people say, if you're a professional footballer, you should be able to play in different parts. You should be able to play in multiple positions. Well, that's not absolutely true. Some people forget that Michael Essien, that people like to cite. He played right back, he played centre back. He wasn't a great centre back. He wasn't a great right back. He was just someone who was willing to do a job for the club, willing to do a job for Jose Mourinho. Jose Mourinho wants me to play as a right back, I will play. Jose Mourinho wants me to play as a centre back, I will play. But he wasn't a fantastic right back or a centre back. But playing at midfield, he was excellent. Top player at playing in central midfield. So I think the same thing applies to Kudus. So if Madueke is sold, I think an actual winger should be signed. Because a lot of people are going, give me Kudus, sign Kudus, bring. But when he played on the wing and he struggles, those same people will want him out the door. Kudus is a 10, and that's where he should play if Chelsea are looking to sign him. That is, if Chelsea want to get the best from him. And then also want to speak about Nkunku. Are there any takers? Say Chelsea willing to accept £35 million for his services. I think if I were Manchester United, I would go for João Felix and Nkunku. Now, people might say, oh, they've been bad. They've not been that good. Really? Have they really been bad? Or they've not just been played? Let's be honest. Has João Felix been given game time? Nkunku has really been played in his proper position. So I think if I was Manchester United, I would go for Nkunku and João Felix, maybe £75 million, and you get both of them. Because Chelsea, for whatever reason, wants those two players gone. And right now, Nkunku's head is not at Chelsea. João Felix's head is at Benfica. He wants to leave Chelsea. And so I think Manchester United, I think that will be a good fit for them, but whether or not they are even interested in those players, that's left for them. And speaking about Kudus, Spurs are even more interested in Kudus. I think negotiations are even going on to sign Mohamed Kudus. So that's it. Chelsea, will have competition for the signature of Mohamed Kudus. There's that competition for Mohamed Kudus. So whilst you're trying to get Noni Madueke sold, you're having all these discussions about with us, no transfer fee and the likes. Spurs, and here we go. Like clockwork, it's on here. Here we go. We've got it. Here we go from Fabrizio Romano with respect to Mohamed Kudus. So that means it's all done. Sorry, Chelsea is out the door. Breaking Mohamed Kudus to Tottenham, whatever. Here we go. Deal in place for £55 million from West Ham. Kudus only wanted Spurs. He will now sign a 6-year contract at Tottenham. Medical test booked for Kudus in London on Thursday. Then all signed, as David Ornstein reports. So that's done. Mohamed Kudus is gone, off to Spurs. So Chelsea fans, who is the other option to take the spot, at least the squad spot, even if not the positional spot of Lonnie Madueke? Who are you getting? Who should the club sign? Kudus is gone. Who should the club now sign? Because anytime we bring up don't sell Madueke, people say, oh, Mohamed Kudus is the guy. And to be fair, or in all honesty, like I said, Kudus is not even a direct replacement for Madueke because he's a 10. He probably would compete for that 10 position with the Cole Palmer if he was coming to Chelsea. But now he's off to Spurs, and possibly that means Maddison will sit on the bench a lot. A lot. That's if Thomas Frank is being fair and just looking at abilities, then I think Maddison will sit on the bench. Or if he wants to go full crazy and play with 2 10s, then both of them can play. I think you can play with 2 10s and play with a lone 6. That's not entirely out of the realm of possibilities. So I think the good deal for Spurs, didn't want him to go there. Don't want any good player to go there. But in football, you don't get what you want. You get the deals that your club negotiates and sees to the end. So he now has, virtually done. Once he heard it, here we go, except in certain odd circumstances where the club decides to act crazy, then it doesn't happen. But now, Kudus to Spurs is as good as done. Good as done. Good as done. So, thoughts and opinions on this deal. What does this do for Spurs? What does it do for Spurs? How do you feel about it? If you're a Chelsea fan, a Manchester United fan, Liverpool fan, how close do you think this brings Spurs to your club? And for me, I don't think he will go there and be a good player and be very productive. But when you look at it, who do they have there as well? Son is getting old and dwindling. Kulusevski, people rave about Kulusevski a lot. I don't really rate him that highly. They have Brennan Johnson. So does it really make Spurs? He makes them better, don't get me wrong, because he's a world-class player. And I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to be that person that suddenly rates him when he was linked to Chelsea and then he's gone to Spurs, no longer rated. He is a top player. But does it really make make Spurs title contenders? No. Does it really make them a lock in for the top 4? No, but he does improve them immensely. That's what I would say. So, Spurs fans, how are you feeling about Kudus' move to Spurs? And what do you make of the length of the deal? 6-year deal. And when Clear Lake and Blue Coast started this whole thing of 6-year, 7-year deals, every fan of a rival club started shedding tears, crying and making a whole lot of noise. Now, I'd like to see what Spurs fans say to this. Would they make the same noise? And even mainstream media as well, they made a lot of noise. So, but what do you think about this sort of bit of transfer news that's happened? How do you rate it? For me, I think it's a 10 out of 10 for Spurs because they've got a really good player, a super player that I think should be playing in a level higher than them. But fair play, they've had that deal done. And let's see if Daniel Levy can really build on, if this is the first of many top-level players he signed, because after the Champions League, after the Europa League win over Manchester United, he said, we're going to compete for the Premier League. And everyone laughed it off, including me, because we know what Spurs are all about. So maybe does this mean they've turned the corner? Does this now mean they're really going to the transfer market and really enrich their squad? Let's see. But overall, this is a good deal for Spurs. Now, Chelsea fans, everyone has been dancing and twerking for Kudus, but apparently he's not coming to Chelsea anymore. Who is your next option, especially with Madueke practically out of the door? Because a lot of Chelsea fans have pushed him out of the door. For me, I just hope right now, it seems I'm hoping against hope, that sort of negotiations with Arsenal fall through. This is the fact that this Kudus now is heading to Spurs and he stays at Chelsea because I think he can really contribute a lot to Chelsea. And like I said, if a club wants to keep a player, they will keep a player, especially a player that has 5 years left on his current contract. So I don't see why the club should be in a hurry to let the player go, especially when you have holes in the squad. We've signed Gittins, forget that Gittins is a left winger. We signed Pedro. João Pedro is a striker. He signed Liam Delap, is a striker. If you're letting Madueke go, that means you have only Pedro Neto as your, outright right winger, except what you're going to do is you're going to play Tyreek Judge there. Or maybe any other names you're looking at? You're going to sign Lamine Yamal? That would be just a crazy town. So, total opinions on the signing and other bits of news we've talked about today as well. Talked about João Pedro. Is he your out and out number one right now? If you're a Chelsea fan, rival fans as well. Let me know what you think about the player. Do you think Chelsea fans are just getting overly gassed about the player, or do you think he's real quality and can prove a threat to your club's ambitions? And then as well, talk about like Esusa Sule going to Motherwell, Kobe Ebere signing a new contract, Elvis Elendu signing his scholarship, deal with Wolves. So that's good for the young player. So Victor Gyokeres, Arsenal, do you think you can get it done? Because right now everything just seems to have gone cold. And do you think you can spend not off £100 million? Because if you're going to pay £55 million for Madueke as Chelsea want, then you're looking to pay something similar for Victor Gyokeres, that means you're spending maybe £110 million. That's something you're looking to do. So let me know your opinions in the chats there. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Right now, I've come to the end of this video. Thanks for all those who've watched, all those who supported the channel, and will keep on watching. Thank you so much. And I'll see you on yet another video. To have a